Hello, welcome to the webinar. Today we are talking about BCC Pricing for Profit. My name is Aleksandra Borucka. I am the organizer of this event. And before we start the right part of the presentation, I'd like to encourage you to ask questions if you have any. Use the chat window you have on your right hand side, and I will pass those questions to our presenter, who is Maciej Olechno today, and we will try to answer some of them if we have time. If not, we will answer them later via email. And thank you. That's all from me. Maciej, could you start now?
Mm-hmm. Good afternoon. My name is Maciej Olechno, and I work as a functional consultant in sales and distribution area. And before we go to the core of the presentation, our product, I would like to briefly introduce our three main spheres of work. So we work as BCC SAP experts. We have EU-based resources and projects all over the world. We also work in data centers. We provide comprehensive IT maintenance and optimization offer, and we also develop software and work on development and maintenance. Okay, let's go to the core part of our presentation. Usual problems with pricing is non-transparent way of documenting and presenting the conditions that make up the price in the standard sub-transactions. There's no quick way to simulate the transaction price. There is also no standard functionality which would present changes in prices over time. And we are not able to extract pricing conditions and transactions prices in customer material relation. And it includes export to external files. So how SAP users handle it at the moment? Extraction of pricing conditions without our tool looks like this. Editing and recording price conditions is carried out by the means of transactions, where in the first stage we need to determine which pricing conditions we want to work. So in our example, this is the base price, condition type PR00. What is more, we can only select a single pricing condition, for example, a price or some kind of discount. So first of all, we only see a single condition, and secondly, the value of such pricing condition can be placed on several levels. So-called access keys. So here in this example we have customer and article with release status as a first access key. Second level is price list category, currency and article with release status, and the most generic one is article with release status. These keys can be, as I said, very detailed, as customer and article, and more generic. A discount or a price may be defined as many as 12 or even 20 different access keys. In our example, we have only 3, which is a little bit of a simplification. And users deciding at which level they want to seek the price for the material are not able to check in a simple way to which access key level the price was entered. So they can either seek at random or in accordance with their business knowledge, as seen on the example on this slide. The user selects the access key with the material and release status. And there he can browse a single pricing condition. What is important on the second screen, we have to choose for which date we want to review the conditions. This is 17th of February in our example. And only deep in details, on the fourth screen, we can preview the price for a specific pricing condition. and we don't know whether it will change over time or not. But like I said, it's quite complicated, and you have to go through 4 screens in order to be able to read the piece of information for a single pricing condition. Moreover, there is no functionality that would allow us to export pricing condition records to an external file. There are only so-called price lists that allow extraction of pricing conditions for a specific table, which is only one pricing condition and one access keys, as seen here. For example, article release status and 17th of February 2017. But in order to state what is the price in a given time period and how it will change over time, we would have to somehow process these files in an external tool. In our example, where we have the price PROO and 3 access sequence tables, which can store condition record values. In practice, it boils down to the fact that we would have to export each of these tables to an external file and manually check for each material, in which table relevant price is stored in a given period of time, and analyze it using Excel or external tools that would have to process this procedure in a fairly complicated way. So to sum up, the basic characteristics that define how we work with pricing in SAP is that at a given moment we only see a single pricing condition, PR00, in accordance with a specific access key, and on a single date without the possibility to collectively export the results of this operation to an external file. If we want to collectively simulate the price, we basically, the most effective and most widely used approach by customers and pricing extractors is a tool which either in an explicit way by creating a standard order where we can add material numbers at the position level of a given material. We can verify what pricing conditions were calculated for material numbers. But as already mentioned, this simulation enables us to check the pricing conditions and prices only for the selected date. We can neither preview other dates in the subscreen nor in the item details, even if we set different price determination date, whether the transaction price and pricing conditions will change or not. We also don't have the possibility to directly explore the file. Now imagine you have to repeat this process for a few thousand material numbers, which happens with our customers. So why would you want to choose us and our tool, Pricing for Profit? Firstly, we have a team of experienced professionals who managed a number of projects in the field of pricing for many customers, implemented in different in various technologies, including the use of previously presented simulation techniques, of pricing procedures through fictional sales order, and basing on these experiences, we know that such solutions are inefficient, and as a result they don't meet customers' expectations. Because the extraction of pricing conditions and the calculations of transaction prices takes too long. It takes even 1 or more days in order to extract basic price lists, which usually does not meet the business requirements for most customers. For this reason, we have developed an original algorithm for searching and converting tables from the pricing conditions, and basing on this algorithm, we have already built solutions for customers. We have implemented such a solution. We conducted performance tests, which confirmed that this algorithm can process even very large amounts of prices. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of pricing positions. And to compare our algorithm, it took about 30 minutes to process over 800,000 of pricing conditions. We don't offer box solutions, but our algorithm, which is the calculation engine, and we adjust it to specific customer for his own pricing procedures and his needs in terms of what files and what pricing conditions and how are they to be extracted. So we want to have a look at preview and structure of the tool. The most important part is our own high-performance algorithm, which is used to convert tables with pricing conditions into a form which is able to transform all tables into a single one, which presents the values of respective pricing conditions for respective customers for a given material over time. That's important. I'm going to present it on the following slides. How does it look like in details? Our solution does not interfere in any way with the standard system. It is a safe solution. We don't change the standard SAP functionality, but build an additional solution that is immune to SAP modifications or version upgrades. We also offer the opportunity to further develop solutions on your own through ABAP plugins, function, and configuration of the solutions. For presentation of the results, we use the standard SAP solution in the form of an ALV list, which has a very wide possibilities to adapt the form of the report and to export the results to various types of files, in particular to an Excel file. So in the current phase, the program has two modules that are associated with the extraction of prices in SAP based on our algorithm. This is pricing condition extractor and transaction price extractor, these two. In the following sections, I would like to discuss how these reports work and explain the differences between them. Okay, let's have a look at the first module, that is pricing conditions extractor. So before we get to the point, I would like to briefly to present brief information on how prices are structured in SAP. Axis at the top is the timeline divided into separate quarters. They don't need to be quarters. It can be a day, a month, or a year, depending on for how long given pricing condition was entered. On the slide we have a simple pricing procedure where we only have three pricing conditions: the base price, PROO, and two rebate conditions. One is a rebate for a client and promotion. The first two conditions have three access keys: client material, and material group. And K007, client rebate, has also three key accesses, which are customer material, customer, and customer group. The third one has two keys which can store values for these pricing conditions. At the top we have the condition PROO, which is the base price, for which a value can be entered using the customer material key, that is the price for a particular material and for a particular customer. And if the price is not found on this level, the system will look for the next access sequence key, which is in our example material. The next level search is the material group. So if we set the price for the first quarter of 2016, we have to see by means of which key it is found. In our example, in the first quarter, the price amounts to 5 zlotys, determined on the customer material key, and it expires in the third quarter of 2016. Therefore, in the third quarter of 2016. So here, the base price will be the price found with the key material, which amounts to 5 zlotys and 10 groszy. And it is valid until the end of the year, as we can see here. In addition, we have a discount for the customer, designated as K007, which is also defined in our example in 3 access levels. In real life, usually such pricing conditions have at least a dozen accesses. And similarly, in this case, for various periods, the value of the discount will be at different levels in accordance with the graphic representation. So we have 5% in the first quarter, 6% in the second quarter of 2017, the value of 3% on customer access key, and 150% for the access for customer group. Now we can imagine that pricing procedures are much more complicated. Base price can be specified for 6-7 access keys, and in addition we can have several rebate conditions, and each of them has from a dozen to as many as 30 access keys. And now in this maze we have to find how transaction price will behave in a given period of time for a given material. In case of pricing condition extractor, the results will be the values of respective pricing conditions, which in a given period of time may affect the price. So in terms of price extraction module, the results are all these colorful stripes that we see here. So we would have 9 rows of results as we have 9 stripes. And they are presented in the standard SAP form of ALV list, with validity periods of individual conditions and the pricing conditions that have an impact on the price of the material in a given period of time. So this is the result. Presentation format looks like the standard functionality of SAP ALV. This is a list in which we can work in a dynamic manner. We may choose columns, rearrange their order, sort, filter the list, and use the export function to external files, for example Excel or plain text file. From the ALV list, by double-clicking, we can go to condition record details. So we can display the value of a particular pricing condition in the standard SAP transaction and proceed to the detailed view of material master, which is typically used in the access keys for pricing conditions. So the most important details can be previewed without leaving the ALV list. I'd like to briefly go back to the slide. And so the result of the report is what you see here on the screen, all these lines. One such line reflects one record from the ALV list seen on the previous slide, which is from the first quarter to the end of the second quarter for a given customer, and a given material has the value of 5 zlotys. The second record will be this one, which shows that for a particular material from the second to the fourth quarter, second to fourth, the price is 5 zlotys and 10 groszy. The third record is a record amounting to 5 zlotys and 50 groszy in the range of dates from the beginning of 2016 until the second quarter of 2017 for the key material group. And subsequent entries in the table are records for a given key conditions for K007 and KA00, these two. So this is how it looks like. Selection screen of this program. The configuration of this particular module consists of 2 things. The first thing is the configuration data included in a scenario, and any additional selection is made on the selection screen. So scenario and selection screen. At the scenario level, we define what pricing conditions are to be calculated, how to calculate transaction price, and what function is to be performed on the determined pricing condition values in order to calculate the transaction price. And we can assign the technical characteristics of how we want to format the file that we can later extract an external system or tool. The extraction file is optional. Additionally, on the selection screen, we indicate a customer or range of customers here in these fields. We can also limit the range of materials for which we want to calculate the price and validity dates. For example, from today to some date in the future, or we can also choose past dates. This period limits the number of conditions that we will be able to see in the ALV list. Okay, here I just wanted to show the possibility to go from ALV list to pricing condition details here and material master data of a given article. Let's have a look at the second module, which is the transaction price extractor, and it works a little bit differently. First, it performs what is performed by the pricing conditions extractor. That is, in the first stage, it determines in which time intervals for a given customer and a given material transaction price can change. In other words, the tool checks which pricing conditions might affect the transaction price for, again, given material and given customer. That is, what pricing conditions are relevant according to which access keys for a given material price change can happen. And after determining these time intervals, it analyzes particular pricing conditions. Level each of the conditions will be determined. In our example, it would work in such a way that in the first step the system determines the time intervals. So the system selects all the lines that illustrate pricing conditions records related to a given material for a particular customer. All the conditions for which the price and any other components, for example, a discount can be retrieved, are taken into consideration in determining intervals where each line begins or ends. This is the point in time in which the price may change. This is the graphical representation. So in the third stage we set intervals, which are illustrated in the diagram as the orange rectangles. In our example we have 6 time intervals. For each time interval the report checks what are the values of individual pricing conditions that make up the transaction price. In our case, if we analyze the first time interval, so this one, the base price was determined at the level of 5 zloty. Next pricing condition, customer discount K007, was determined at the level of 5%. And the third condition, KA00, material group promotion, will also be material group with the value of 1%. Therefore, in our time frame, we have established the base price 5 zloty, customer discount 5%, and additional promotion discount condition 1%. And all these calculations result in the transaction price of 470. The next interval is a little bit different because of the fact that the validity of the condition of the customer discount K007 is no longer valid, it has expired. So the discount value is taken from the key on the lower level, that is customer, and this is the value of 3% in this case. And in this period also the validity of the pricing of price of 5 zloty 10 groszy starts, but it has no meaning because the first price of 5 zlotys is still valid in the key at a higher level. The transaction price increased by 10 groszy to 4 zloty and 80 groszy due to the lower or value of the discount for the commission K007. So going through all these periods, we can see how the logic of the entire report works. The report builds periods in order to investigate whether the price will change or not. And then for each of these periods, the report will retrieve a record containing information about the values of the individual components of the price and the result of what transaction price is determined. This algorithm is not available in any standard functionality of SAP because there is no function determining the time intervals in which commission values change. In the standard functionality, we will have to simulate prices day after day, assuming of course, we want to achieve this by simulating pricing procedure, create a fictional order, and enter material numbers, and by changing the date, day after day, we would have to verify whether the next date influenced the transaction price or not. In short, if any of the elements of the transaction price were determined on a different key level, or the value can be found at all for a given date, and whether because of it the transaction price and pricing conditions change in some way. As a result of our report, we firstly have reports defined from today to some date in the future, and in the table, which will be presented by the report, we have the calculated values. So the result is the transaction price, seen here, divided into quarters. 470, 480, 490, 429, 492, 539, and 514. Okay, basing on this report, we can build a graphical representation of a transaction price diagram where we have the base price here, the price after discount, the bluish one, and the transaction price. We can easily observe how the relation behaves between the various components of the price and how the various discounts influence the transaction price over time. So the transaction price extractor module is also based on the configuration associated with the scenario and additional parameters on the selection screen. In a scenario like in the pricing conditions extractor, we assign the selected pricing conditions, configure how and for which algorithm transaction price is to be calculated, and if we want to export the results to a file in a particular format, because the standard formats are now generated by ALV is not sufficient, we can assign other procedures which will generate a file according to our requirements. For example, data prepared for transporting to a receiving system, online store, etc., etc. On the screen selection, we can also specify sales area, customer, or range of customers, range of materials, for what unit transaction price is to be recalculated. So whether we want the transaction price to be presented in the basic material units, sales units, or in some other units. For example, in the system we have pieces as the units, and we want the system to show us will be the price for a pallet, which consists, for example, of 5,000 or 6,000 pieces of material. We can also select a presentation format, so if we want to see the result in the form of ALV list or export to a file, it can be received by an external system. Again, if we choose the presentation format as an ALV list, we have all the benefits that this tool gives us. So we can choose the amount of data, which columns we are interested in, the order of columns, filtering, sorting, and the use of the standard functionality of exporting the table to a file. In default view, we see such columns as sales area, customer, material, price validity dates, price unit, transaction price, and its conditions. Okay. To sum up, as I mentioned earlier, transaction price is extractor performs calculations at various stages, just and in the pricing condition extractor. In the first stage, it looks for pricing conditions that may affect the price of a material for a given customer in a specified time intervals. That is all the colorful stripes. In the second stage, it determines intervals in which the value of a given condition changes that could have an impact on the change in the transaction price. And in the third stage, it performs calculations, illustrated here by the vertical arrows, which converts the value of individual pricing conditions to the rows with the validity dates of the transaction price. This in turn gives us the values for the relevant combination of the customer and the material for the respective pricing condition that make up the transaction price, and basing on the assigned algorithm, it calculates the transaction price basing on the condition values. The results are placed in the table and presented, as seen before, as an ALV list. Moreover, the solution is built in ABAP plugin technology, allowing us to achieve additional functionality. Among others, possibility to expand the report with additional columns, custom filtering, calculation formulas, and definable file format. We can also configure file format as seen on this slide. So we can choose how header position, column order, column headers, and positions format should be. What are the applications of our tool? We have additional features that are our reports, that our reports include. The calculation of such a report can be archived in a database. The price can be calculated and stored in the database, allowing us to quickly make them available either online to external system, for example, through a web service or RFC technology. This is the current stage of our plan, and we want to continue to develop our tool. And the first step in the development of our solution is to add functionality that allows price management, so building a Price Analyser module. And this would look like this. After data extraction and working with it, for example in Excel, we are able to load it back into the table and into planned pricing conditions. That is, for each pricing condition we will be able to add its planned version. And in this form, the next scenario, which will be configured in the transaction price extractor, we'll be able to compare planned prices with the current ones and make a report with this comparison. Planned prices loaded back to the system will have the option to be accepted using acceptance workflow. And of course by users with appropriate accesses. And after such approval, planned prices will replace the current ones in the system, and they will be again able to be exported to external system. Because users usually prefer to work on a spreadsheet than in SAP. There is the possibility of entering an additional comment or additional analysis, and the functionality of updating prices will be an independent element of the cycle presented here, and will be available as a part of the pricing conditions report list. Okay, so thank you for your attention. Do we have any questions? Okay, we have one. This question is, does it work with retroactive rebates? Yes, we can configure scenario in such a way that rebate conditions will be taken into consideration as well. So this is definitely possible. So if you have any more questions, you can write at info@bccgroup.com. And yeah, thank you.